So 2.7 is in full swing, and the Perilous Trail event isn't over per se, but there's no new content coming out for it. Now, of course, I was excited for new Genshin content as anyone else would be, seeing as we had to wait extra long this time, which, you know, is understandable. So I, of course, played the content on the same day that it came out, because I just couldn't wait to see it. But now that I've finished everything, and I've had a whole day to think about it and ruminate on it, I've really made up my mind, and I honestly have to say, I was really impressed. Just genuinely, this was, if not the best event, just generally in Genshin history, this was my favorite, at least. It was just so fun. I mean, the first day of the quest kinda dragged, but from the very beginning I could see that there weren't useless NPCs that I don't care about involved, and there wasn't really even all that much unnecessary dialogue. Sure, there was banter between characters, but on day one, primarily between Kuki and Ito, and that's to introduce the new character we're getting in a couple of weeks. So from the get-go, I had good feelings about this. Then on day two, the quest got way more interesting. They were throwing a lot more, like, lore teases and stuff in. I really wish we would have been able to see Paimon's fear or whatever through that door. I think that would have been super interesting, but unfortunately we didn't. However, the puzzle portion of the day 2 quest really just charmed me. I was super happy with this one. I thought it was really interesting. I thought the setting was just super cool. The way you could see these spiraling rock spires in the distance, and you can watch the entire thing that you're walking on platforms of rotate as you solve the puzzle. I thought that was super cool, super interesting, super fun. And I have to admit, the puzzle kind of stumped me because I was too dense to interact with those light projector things. So I may have had more time than the average person to absorb the aesthetic of the area. And so this might just be a highlight for me. But then, day 3 of the event quest came out, and it was just super cool. They wrapped it up so well. We got like 3 cutscenes? Honestly, it was just really interesting. It poses a lot of questions for like what's going on there. It teases a lot of stuff. And the best part of all, we got Xiao character development. And I think that's really cool. Now, while they're on my mind, I do have 2 little nitpicks that are kind of the same thing, but one's more specific. Let's start with that. The one thing in this event quest that really disappointed me was I was hoping so hard for direct conversation between Ito and Xiao. And then on day 3, Ito was asleep for most of the time. So that didn't really end up happening. And related to that, it was a little disappointing that Kuki and Ito just sort of were off in a corner doing their own thing. I understand that once we went into the new area with the fantastic compass and stuff, they had to stay behind, but at the same time, they just didn't really interact with the other characters outside of Yanfei much at all. Although they did get a few chuckles out of me from the banter between Paimon and Ito. And it just became all the funnier when we got the birthday gifts in the mail from both of them on the same day. I had no idea they shared a birthday. That's just goofy that they were acting so similar and stuff. And Yelan, I honestly don't get her character entirely yet, but she looks so cool every time she's on screen. She sounds so cool every time she talks. And I really do want to know more about this character, and I think we're gonna get that in the future, seeing as she has involvement all around Teyvat. So that was really cool too. And above all else, the coolest thing in this event was the fact that we got to see all 4 other Yaksha's faces and stuff. They even had voice lines. You know, it's moments in the story like this where something's been teased in artifact sets for maybe just one update like this time, or maybe a long time like was the case with Signora, but I really do love the way they tell stories in this game. I think it's super charming, and it's so fun to pick up on these little breadcrumbs along the way, and then all of a sudden this thing that you thought might be possibly happening in the future actually happens. But anyway, that's enough about the story. What did I think about the actual combat event? Well, on day one, I wasn't all that impressed. You know, it was content to do in Genshin, and I enjoyed it on a very transactional level, just like, I do this to get Primo and I happy. But on day two, I really started to have fun with it. I actually can't remember if the characters went on cooldown on the first day. The way I remember it, they just were out for the rest of the challenge, but I don't think that's the case. I might need to look at that. But really, I don't know what it was about it. I just had so much more fun on day two. And then day three, I had even more fun. And day four, when the challenge was upgraded from 3 rounds to 6 rounds, that's when this event shined. Honestly, this combat event, like so many people have said, like, oh, I wish this was a permanent thing in Genshin that just stayed around and reset every couple weeks, like Spiral Abyss. But I have never agreed with that sort of sentiment more than I have on this event. It would be so fun, even just like once every update, to have one of these gauntlets come out, like a new one, where you could really test the abilities of your account, not just 2 teams like in the Spiral Abyss. Because the Spiral Abyss is entirely time-gated. Well, I mean, sometimes floor 12 can be pretty punishing, but outside of that, it's really just a time trial, and you only have to have 2 upgraded teams, 8 characters total, to do well in the Spiral Abyss. And personally, when I'm going into the Abyss, I just take whatever 2 teams are strongest, which means most Spiral Abyss cycles, I'm using the exact same characters every time. But this event keeps things fresh in the challenge by letting you switch out characters, not just letting you, but requiring you to. And you can really just show how many different teams you can construct with, you know, the artifacts that you have available, the weapons, what characters you have invested in. I really think long-term, Genshin needs something like this that doesn't go away. This was so much fun. Honestly, I don't think I've ever had this much fun in a combat challenge in general in Genshin ever. I mean, Genshin as a game, besides being exploration focused and aside from the RNG loop involved in grinding artifacts, is really a game about collecting and building characters. So our main combat activity, only requiring 2 teams, is just really kind of boring. And it doesn't really make sense when I have 35 characters built. I want to use more than 8 of them. You know? I have 4 times that amount built. Sure, I can't have good artifacts on all of them at the same time just because upgrading artifacts is expensive. The Mora, the amount of artifact experience you have to get to do that. But still, I can construct like 4 teams with the amount of artifacts that I have, and I want something that lets me do that more often. It was just so much fun. I really think that this event is the best we've ever had, both story-wise and gameplay-wise. It was just so much fun, at least on days 2, 3, and 4 for me. In fact, I've already gone back on my main account and replayed the combat challenge twice. It takes me 15 minutes every time, and it's just fun the entire way through. I don't know what else to say about it. It was just the best thing I've ever experienced in Genshin. I'm still really happy with this update so far. I love what they've done, and I hope they continue to do things like this more often from here on out. You know, bringing together more characters. I want to see an Avengers Endgame level collab between like 24 characters in one quest, all interacting. I think that is the biggest culmination of what Genshin could be, and I don't think that anyone could execute that well, but I'd still like to see it. I want to be hopeful, and I have really good feelings about Sumeru now. I think it's probably going to be really interesting if they keep following this path where it feels like our criticisms have actually been heard, at least to a certain degree. Anyway, I'm gonna go play that combat challenge again because it was so much fun. So if you made it to the end of the video, thanks so much for watching or listening. This was kind of a long one. I would probably just listen to this on my phone. I really do appreciate it. As always, I've been Roman, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.